So you sold something on eBay and you made money and it was really exciting until you get a return request. And now you don't know what to do. So you open up YouTube, do a quick search, and here you find this video. What's up guys, my name is Justin and I go by Coach Commerce here on YouTube, and on my channel I like to try to help people become better eBay sellers. And one way you can become a better eBay seller is by learning how to handle returns in the right way. And in this video, I'm gonna teach you how to do just that. I'll teach you the right things to do and some things that you want to try to avoid doing whenever you're handling returns. If you follow the steps that I outline in this video, you'll become a pro when it comes to handling returns on eBay. You'll learn how to save time, money, and you'll learn how to give great customer service to your customers so that hopefully they'll come back to your store and buy things again in the future. So let's go ahead now and jump right in. You may or may not have realized it, but when you were creating your eBay listing, when you were putting your item up for sale on eBay, there was a section down at the bottom that outlined your return preferences. Now what you chose in this little box, whether you realized it or not, really impacts and affects what happens when a buyer opens up or chooses to create a return. And that area of the draft template on eBay looks like this. We have the return options down here below, and to the right of that we have the ability to enable domestic or international returns. And to turn those on, all I would do is check the box. And when I click to accept returns, I have the option of determining how long I want to allow my buyers to return their items. I can choose between 30 or 60 days. It is important to note that eBay's policy requires you to enable returns for 30 days. 60 days is added. You don't have to do that. I always choose the 30-day option because that is the bare minimum, and that also gives me the most protection as an eBay seller. And then down below that, you also have the option of determining who's going to pay for the return shipping when the buyer ships the item. You can either charge the buyer, make them pay to return the item to you, or you can offer to pay for the item by enabling free returns. Now, I do want to point out before I go on that if you enable free returns as an eBay seller, eBay also gives you incentives to try to encourage you to do that. By enabling free returns as a seller, you get a lot more protections. If the buyer were to leave you negative feedback, eBay will remove that negative feedback. And also, you have the ability when you offer free returns to give partial refunds to your customers. So for example, if your customer damages the item or if they ship you back the wrong item, you're allowed to then only give them part of their money back. Whereas if you charge your customer and make them pay for the return shipping, eBay will not enable you to give a partial refund. So you actually have more protections if you pay for the return shipping. So I, as a seller, always follow the best practice of offering free returns because it is really, really great for you and for your customer, and it really is the best option. Now, I know other people may disagree with me, but that's the choice that I do, and I found over my years of selling, over a decade now on eBay, that really is your best offer and your best option on eBay when you're dealing with returns. Okay, so now that we've covered how to set up your return preferences before you list your item, now we're gonna go ahead and talk about what to do after a buyer opens a return case. And I realize that if you clicked on this video, this is probably the part you're most concerned about because more than likely, you have a buyer who's opened a return and you need help with knowing what to do in regards to getting your item back and refunding your customer or what your options are and your protections are as a seller to make sure that you're not only made whole, but that you get your item back and that you can then again resell it. So why don't we go ahead now and jump on over to eBay, over to our return dashboard, and I'll help you walk through what to do when you have a return. Okay, so here I am now in my returns dashboard. Here, at the top it says manage returns. And then down below, every return I have open is listed. So it'll give you, the title of what you sold, what it is. Over here on the left, there's a little hyperlink where I can click on, see the details of the return. And then over here on the right, you'll notice it says status, and it'll tell you the status of every return you have open. It'll tell whether they've shipped the item, whether, it's waiting for the buyer to ship it, or, if you've already refunded the buyer and, you're waiting on them to confirm that they received the refund. So I'm gonna go ahead now and I'm gonna click on this top return to kind of show you, this return that's open and what my choices are as a seller of what I can do to handle the return that I have open. So here I have a return that was automatically approved by eBay, and the reason why is because the buyer, reported that they didn't think that this perfume was authentic. That was their opinion. I can assure you that it was an authentic perfume, but it doesn't matter on eBay. If a buyer claims that something isn't as described, eBay will automatically approve the return and it's gonna come back to you. So now, when that happens, eBay will automatically give them a return label, and then you basically have to wait until it gets returned to you. And then when the return gets back to you, you'll open it, you'll inspect it, make sure everything's fine, and then you'll be able to click a button to refund them their money. Okay, every once in a while on eBay, you'll have a buyer open a return and then nothing happens. You're waiting for, the status to be updated, and, there's no movement on the shipping, there's no movement on the item getting back to you, and you're kind of left in limbo. I actually have one of these cases open right now on eBay, and I'm gonna jump back over to my seller hub to show you what to do when this happens. So as you can tell right here with this return that I have, the buyer has opened the return, but they haven't actually shipped it yet. When the buyer opens a return, they actually have a 15-day window to where they have to return the item to you, or at least get it in the mail. Now, if they don't return the product within that 15-day window, what will happen is that return will automatically close. The buyer will no longer be able to return it, and all of your funds, all of your money that was being held will be released, and the return is done and over with. And that oftentimes happens. A buyer, opens a return, they're unhappy in the heat of the moment, but then maybe they change their mind. Maybe they actually do like the product, or they want to keep it. Or maybe simply they don't want to have to go through the hassle of actually, boxing it back up, putting a label on it, and taking it to the post office, which is pretty much the most common thing. A lot of people are lazy. They don't want to have to go through the hassle. And when they find out that there's actually a process involved, they don't even bother doing it. Okay, so now that I've showed you how to monitor the status of your return and how to look at all of the details of the open returns that you have, I'm going to jump back over to my return dashboard, and I'm going to show you a couple of really cool functions that you can use to send messages to your buyers to maybe help out work out any, troubles or difficulties with the return process. And I'll also show you how to report a buyer if you ever run into troubles with, people that are being difficult or people that are abusing the return process. So now that I'm back here on my return dashboard, you'll notice that right beside the details arrow, there is a little drop down tab, and if I click on it, it's gonna pull up a micro menu. Here, I can choose to contact my buyer, and when I click on that, it gives me the option of messaging my buyer. Now, in this messaging system, I can choose to contact my buyer to give them further instructions on how to handle the return. Basically, any communication you need to handle the return is gonna be documented here. And it's also important to note that when you put anything in writing, that anybody that you contact at eBay, a customer service rep, will always be able to see this negotiation or this communication that you are having with your buyer. So by being professional, you'll really have more of an advantage if things go south with the return in terms of getting eBay to side with you as the buyer. And if things do go south and the return isn't going very well, you do of course have the option of reporting your buyer. If you go back to the seller hub and click on that same down arrow, you'll notice that there's a tab that says report buyer. And when I click on that tab, I'll have a menu of choices to where I can choose to report the buyer for what is appropriate. Now, speaking of appropriate, make sure that you're using this tool appropriately. Do not report a buyer if they're not doing anything wrong. eBay obviously will look at this report and decide whether or not there needs to be any penalties or any actions on the person that is abusing the return. And if you are lying or being dishonest, it can actually come back on you. So make sure that you're being professional here as well. Okay, so now that we've walked through a few different return scenarios and a few that I have open, I want to point out that it's important to note that every return may be a little bit different. Depending on what the buyer chooses as the return option, you might have, different options to respond. For example, if you sold them a brand new item that you actually have more of, sometimes you'll have the option of offering them a replacement product. And then other times, for example, if you don't allow returns and they chose a buyer's remorse option, maybe their item didn't fit them or they had buyer's remorse, you can actually choose to decline the return, and then you don't have to do anything more. You get to keep all your money, the buyer has to keep the product, they don't have the option of returning it. And I wanted to point that out because, like I said, with the returns that I showed you, not all of those options were available because, they weren't specific to the returns that I had going on right now. But you may have other return options in your return listing that you'll be able to choose from. If you have any questions about what those are and how they work, feel free to drop a comment down below, and I'll be happy to try to help you with anything that I did not cover in this video. So one more thing before I go, if you have a return that isn't going very well, maybe the buyer is really upset, maybe they even left you negative feedback, or maybe they shipped you back something that wasn't what you shipped them. I want to encourage you and say that not every return is like that. And returns don't happen all the time. Don't be like other sellers that I've coached in the past, where when you get a return, it shuts your entire store down and you never sell anything ever again on eBay. You know, it might sound crazy, but a lot of people get brokenhearted and really take returns personally. Don't be that person, because there's way too much opportunity on eBay. You know, if I would have quit when I got my first or second return on eBay, I would have missed out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit that I could have made if I would have kept going and not let that return get the best of me. So with returns, you know, my best advice is to try to resolve things, help the buyer, get your product back, and refund them their money. Because after all, if you got your product back, you can then turn around and put it right back on eBay. It only takes one click to relist your item and to put it up for auction, or, you know, for buy it now all over again. And the other cool thing is, when you have a return and you refund the buyer their money, eBay even gives you your fees back that were associated with that sale. So you're really not out anything. You got your item back and you can actually sell it again. And a lot of times when you sell it again, you won't have an issue with the next buyer. So keep pushing forward, keep making those sales, and you'll be much better off for it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of that return and keep selling on eBay. Until next time, have a great day and thank you for watching. Bye everyone.